So you decided to get healthy and try Meatless Mondays, but you have no idea what to cook? Let me share some ideas. In this week's episode, I will be sharing with you some great meatless dinner recipes. Not only are they budget friendly, they're great for an entire family. Whether you're a seasoned vegetarian or you're looking to cut a little meat out of your diet and budget, these recipes are going to be perfect for you. Let's get cooking. First up, we've got a tortilla lasagna. It's a budget-friendly twist on a traditional lasagna and it's perfect for feeding a crowd. Let's gather some ingredients. 1 can of black beans, a can of corn, some bell peppers, whatever color you want, some tortillas depending on your pan size, a cup of salsa, a cup of sour cream, and 2 cups of cheese. We'll start by spreading a little bit of the salsa or tomato sauce, if you've chosen that, onto the bottom of the pan, just enough to get a little bit of liquid down there before we put our first tortilla. And then we're just going to start layering the ingredients like you would a normal lasagna. So I have a little bit of black beans. I was doing like a third of them. So like 3 scoops of beans, 3 scoops of corn, kind of big. It seems like I had a lot of corn. And then I put a little bit of bell pepper. I kind of just eyeballed what a third was and just kind of sprinkled that out around. And then a little bit of cheese. We're going to put the majority of the cheese on the very top. So just a little couple sprinkles of cheese. And then a couple dollops of sour cream. You can use a Greek yogurt if you want, like a non-flavored Greek yogurt. That would also be good. So just a little bit. It will kind of melt down into there. And then just a little bit more salsa. Once you have that salsa down, we're going to add another tortilla and we're just going to start the process again. So eyeballing, a third again for each layer, and then completing that until your pan is full. So that will kind of determine how many layers you're going to need. So how, deep and wide it is will kind of determine that. So just keep on going. And then when you get to the last layer, it's going to be a little bit different because we have that like cheesy top on it. So once you have used up all of your other ingredients, you want to hold on to 1 tortilla and then probably about half of the cheese and probably 2 tablespoons-ish of the salsa. We're just going to put the rest of that on top of that final tortilla before we put the cheese down. So just spread it all the way around. You want to make sure that those tortillas are going to have some type of liquid to absorb. So just totally covering the tortilla and then tucking in the edges so nothing is like bubbling over in the oven. And then just whatever cheese you have left, put that on top. And once it is done, we're going to pop that into the oven. We're going to bake this at 375 for 25 to 30 minutes. You want it to be nice and hot and that cheese is completely melted. And so when it looks like it's brown, a little bit brown on top, you want to take it out, set it aside for just a little bit before you cut it. And there you have it, a tortilla lasagna. Next, we're making a Pesto Tortellini Primavera. This dish is rich and it is packed with vegetables. So I'm starting by adding some tortellini to some water. I use dry tortellini. You could use the refrigerated tortellini if you like. And then we're going to prepare 2 to 4 cups of vegetables, whatever you have in your fridge and that you like, some garlic, Italian seasoning, and then I have some prepared pesto and then some parm for the top if you like. So the tortellini is going in another pan. I put some olive oil. I had some carrots that I was doing. I did those first. Those go in first because they are harder. They take a little bit longer to cook, and I wanted to make sure that they had a chance to soften before everything else was maybe burned. So the carrots go in first, and I'm just going to let them cook a little bit till they're a little bit soft, and then add my extra vegetables. So I had onions and then some different colored peppers. That's what I chose to put in, and I have done this with peas, zucchini, so whatever vegetables you have. And then I added some garlic in there, and this is kind of to taste. If you like garlic, then add more. If not, then you're not going to add as much. I did a big clove of garlic in there and then just kept stirring. And I want these to get, softened. So just cook them until whatever vegetables you have are softened but not mushy. You definitely don't want mushy, so you're going to have to kind of determine that depending on which vegetables you chose to make with this. And once you're feeling that those are about done, you're going to add some Italian seasoning. I don't know, like half a teaspoon, depending on how many vegetables you have. One great thing about this recipe is you can add as many or as little vegetables as you like. So determine the amount of Italian seasoning based on how many vegetables you have. And then just gently put in the cooked tortellini. You do want to be careful with it because it can come apart. So we have all of our ingredients in there except our sauce. So we're going to add some pesto to this. So this is just a store brand of jarred pesto. You can use whatever type of pesto you like if you like to make it from scratch or you like to buy it from the refrigerated section. Any of those would work. So we're just going to put a little bit of pesto. This stuff goes a long ways, so you don't need a ton of it. You would definitely not want to put that whole jar in there because it is quite powerful. You don't need a lot of pesto. And then just very gently mixing it all together until it's thoroughly coated with the pesto sauce. And then it's done. So then just plate it up. You do serve it immediately. Put a little parm on if you like. You can also add cream cheese to the mix. It makes it more of a creamy type of pesto and it's super delicious. So there you have it, a tortellini primavera. Now for a bit of a kick, we are going to try a spicy broccoli pasta. So starting with 8 ounces of pasta, we're just gonna cook those according to the directions on the package. You can use whatever kind of pasta you like. And then just a couple minutes before that pasta is done, we're gonna throw in our broccoli, 2 cups of broccoli, and just give it a steam. You don't want it to get mushy in there, and then drain it and set it aside. And then into a pan, some olive oil, and then we're gonna do 3 cloves of garlic. We want this to be very flavorful. Once those are just starting to have an aroma to them, we're gonna add 1 can of undrained tomatoes. This is gonna be our sauce. It's so yummy. And then about a tablespoon of butter. This adds a richness to the sauce. It's really good secret ingredient when you're making pasta dishes is to add just a little bit of butter in there and then some red pepper flakes. So put as little or as many as you like. These are very powerful. So if you put a lot in, it's going to be spicy. So you determine that depending on how your family likes to eat. If you want it spicy, keep going. If not, then you could just leave it out if you like. Now that our sauce is made, we're going to add in the cooked broccoli and pasta. And so we're just going to gently add this into the same pan with the sauce and gently incorporate it together. And that's really it. Just stir that around, and when you're satisfied that it is incorporated well enough, you're going to want to plate this up right away. Add a little Parmesan cheese to the top if you like. So there is our spicy broccoli pasta. Next up, we've got pesto and cheese tomato melts. They're quick and absolutely yummy. So starting with some bread, we're going to put some mayonnaise on it. If you like mayonnaise, you don't have to put mayonnaise on there. It does add an extra creaminess to it and it softens the bread a little bit. And then we're going to add some pesto on top of that. So if you skip the mayonnaise, you would just put the pesto directly on the bread. And we're just going to spread that evenly around. Make sure that you get all the way over to the edges. You don't want a dry edge. That's not very good. Then we're going to add some mozzarella. I used this sliced from a big ball of mozzarella. You could really use whatever cheese you have. It doesn't have to be mozzarella. That's what I was using. And then some big, nice slices of tomato. I have heard of people putting these in the oven and getting them roasted first. That would be good. And then some red onion. If you're into onions, just spread those around. And then on top of that, I put some spinach. Obviously, this is a sandwich, so you can put whatever you want on there. I put some spinach on there, and then on goes the other piece of bread, and then I put it on my grill. I was using a panini grill. I would say that this almost would work better in a fry pan because you'll see it kept wanting to slide. I was having a hard time getting that sandwich to stay in there because of the nature of the lid on that thing. But I was just smashing it down, trying to get that sandwich to close inside of there. And I'm just going to cook it until it is nice and golden brown. And that cheese is nice and melted, and then you are ready to eat. So there you have our pesto tomato melt. Last but not least, we are going to make some black bean cakes. These make a great main dish, or you can even have it as a side. You can also eat it like a burger. Super easy to make. I will never buy frozen ones again once I found this recipe. It is really, really good. So starting by chopping up some cilantro and some onions. You see there's only a few ingredients in this. They're so easy. So chop those up really small. And then we're going to take a can of black beans and we're going to rinse these and drain them. And then into a bowl they go. And then we're going to mash these down. You want them mashed pretty good. You don't want really any whole beans to remain. And then half a cup of some fine breadcrumbs. I use some seasoned breadcrumbs. You could use whatever kind you want. And then the onion and cilantro go in with, I put 1 egg, and then I put a hearty teaspoon of some cumin and an extra splash. And then a little bit of salt. And I use some white pepper. You could use whatever kind of pepper you have. I like white pepper, and so I try to use it when it makes sense. I'll throw some white pepper in there. So a couple sprinkles of white pepper, and then just mixing this up. And we're kind of looking for consistency of, I don't know, maybe like a meatloaf. We need it to hold it together. So I went and added a second egg because I didn't feel like that the 1 egg was making it sticky enough. I could see them just falling apart. So I added an extra egg. And then once that was incorporated, I was satisfied that that was going to stick together. I kind of tested it up by mushing it down every once in a while to see if it was going to hold together because I need to make these into patties. To make the patty process easier, I put a piece of parchment paper on the countertop, and then using an ice cream scoop, I scooped out the mixture directly onto that parchment paper. This made 6 nice patties, and so once those, I'd used all of the mixture and I had the 6 on there, I put a second sheet of parchment paper on top, and I used that to just squish down the patties. You could do this by hand. I was afraid that it would be super sticky and not work out. However, this method worked very, very well. And I would just squish them down and then every once in a while check and see if that was the right thickness. And they did, they were turning out the right shape. And so making sure that they're all even, just made those into 6 really nice patties. So in a hot pan with some oil, gently place the patties in there. Make sure that the oil is nicely coated on the bottom of the pan. And here's the key. We don't want to move those things until we have a nice crust on the bottom. So gently put as many as you can comfortably fit in there. You're going to have to be able to turn them, so don't get this too crowded. I was only able to do some of them at a time. I had to do 2 different batches to get all of them in. I had like 4 in one and then 2 in the second batch that I did. So I'm just going to watch these. I'm kind of looking for it to brown around the bottom edges and then very gently give it a flip. I did do each side twice just to make sure that they were the right, brownness that I wanted and that they were all the way thoroughly warmed through. I took a plate lined with some paper towels and just very gently put those onto the plate just to sit for a minute while I finished the other batch of patties. They were very, very delicious. And how we served them was I put a little bit of Greek yogurt on them and then with a little bit of side salad. These were very, very good. Much better than something from the frozen section. Well, there you have it. 5 budget-friendly Meatless Monday ideas that are sure to please your taste buds without breaking the bank. So, until next time, bye!